Hello and welcome to TD's Pokemon Lair. I am TD and this is the Lair, and today we'll be unboxing a box of 10 Pokemon cards I sent to PSA over a year ago. I got them back in this nice little box, nicely packaged, safe and sound so they don't get damaged, and I got it back. Let's get them out of the box and see what I got, and let's go. We have a 1999 Pokemon game base set Jynx, the number 31 card. Looking at the front of this card, you can see that it looks really clean. I don't see any dirt or damage, no bends or creases. Looking at our centering from top to bottom, it looks pretty good from left to right. It might be slightly to the right, taking us out of spec. Looking at our corners and our edges, the corners look really good. Looking very closely at our edges, there's a very slight damage to the upper and the left edges. Looking at the back of the card, you can see that it's really clean. I don't see any problems on the surface. No damage to or bends or anything like that. Looking at our centering from side to side, looks really good, and from top to bottom, I think it's nice. Looking at our corners and our edges, our corners look pretty good. I think they're there's no problems with them. I didn't see any. Looking at our edges, there's some slight damage about the center of the left edge. Very slight damage. And we're going to get grade of near mint 7. Wow, we were robbed. That card does not deserve that grade. It's a much better card. We're looking at a 1999 Pokemon game base set Machoke, the number 34 card. Looking at the front of this card, you can see it's really clean. I don't see any dirt damage or problems with it. Our centering from top to bottom and right to left all look really good. Looking at our corners and our edges, they look actually really clean. Looking at the back of the card, it looks really nice. I don't see any dirt, damage, bends, creases, or anything like that. Looking at our centering from top to bottom, I think it's pretty good, and from left to right, I think it's within spec. Looking at our corners and our edges, the corners look pretty good, but we have some damage across the top edge and down the right side edge. And that's going to give us a grade of near mint 7. That should have been at least an 8. I don't think that damage was that bad. Wow. Oh well. Let's inspect this 1999 Pokemon game base set Seel, the number 41 card. Looking at the front of this card, it looks really clean for being over 20 years old. Looking at our centering from top to bottom and left to right, I think it's slightly towards the bottom and a little towards the left. And our edges and our corners are pretty clean. As we take a look to the back of the card, you can see that the surface is free of creases, bends, dirt, grime, or any other damage. Looking at our centering from top to bottom, I think it's within tolerance, and our left to right centering is within spec. Looking at our edges, they're not too bad, except that there's some damage on the right edge, and we have damage to all 4 corners. And we're going to get a grade of near mint 7. Well, I agree with that grade with the damage on the back. I'm looking at a 1999 Pokemon game base set Abra, the number 43 card. Looking at this card, you can see that the centering looks pretty good from left to right. From top to bottom, it might be towards the top a little bit, taking us out of spec. And looking at our edges and our corners, I think they're very clean with no damage. Taking a look at the back of the card, you can see that it's pretty clean on the surface. There's no damage to the graphics. Looking at our centering from top to bottom, I think it's within spec. From left to right, though, I think it's towards the left. And looking at our edges and our corners, all 4 corners have slight damage, but you can really tell on the upper right. And that's going to give us a grade of near mint 8. Pretty good. Here we go, a 1999 Pokemon game base set Bulbasaur, the number 44 card. Looking at the front of this card, you can see it's very clean. There's no problems on the surface, no damage, creases, bends, dirt. Looking at our centering from top to bottom, it's not too bad, but looking from left to right, you can obviously tell it's way to the right. And looking at our edges and our corners, I see no damage. As I flip this card over and look at the back, you can see that the surface looks just as clean at the front. There's no problems or damage on there. Looking at our centering, It is definitely towards the left, just like opposite of the front going to the right. And our top to bottom looks pretty good. As we look at our edges and our corners, they're not too bad, except the two lower corners have some slight damage. And with that centering being way off, we got a grade of near mint 8. That's not too bad with that centering being so bad. I'm showing you a 1999 Pokemon game base set Caterpie, a number 45 card. Looking at the front of this card, you can see that it's really clean. There's no damage or dirt or problems with it. Looking at our centering from top to bottom, I think it's within tolerance, and our side to side centering is within spec. Looking at our corners and our edges, I see no damage that I can find. Looking to the back of the card, you can see that the surface is nice and clean just as the front is. There's no problems that I can find. Looking at our centering from top to bottom, I think that's within tolerance as well as the side-to-side centering. Looking at our corners and our edges, I think there's some slight damage to both lower corners, and there's some noticeable damage center of the right edge. And that's going to give us a grade of near mint 8. Those aren't too bad a grade. Maybe better. I could have got better. Gotta have this one, a 1999 Pokemon game base set Charmander, the number 46 card. Looking at this card, you can see that Charmander is very clean. There's no dirt, damage, bends, creases, or any problems with it. Our centering looks pretty good from top to bottom and also left to right. Our corners and our edges have no damage that I can find. The back of this card looks very good. I don't see any surface or graphics problems. Looking at our centering from side to side and top to bottom, I think it's within tolerance. Looking at our edges and our corners, I think there's some very slight damage about center of the right edge, and both lower corners have very slight damage. And we're going to get a grade for Charmander of mint 9. Awesome. That makes that card worth a little bit. We're looking at a 1999 Pokemon game base set Diglett, the number 47 card. Looking at Diglett here, you can see that this 20-year-old card has a very clean surface. There's no bends, creases, dirt, or anything like that. Looking at our centering from top to bottom, it is quite a bit towards the top, and from side to side, it's a little towards the left. I think both of those possibly out of spec. Finally, looking at our corners and our edges, they're very clean. Moving to the back of the card, you can see that our centering problem continues, with it being towards the right and towards the top, mirroring the front. And looking at our surface, though, it's really clean. I don't see any issues there. And finally, looking at our corners and our edges, I think there's some slight damage to the both right corners and the right edge. And that's going to give us a grade of near mint 8. It should have been a 9, I think, but I'll take an 8. This card is a 1999 Pokemon game base set Drowzee, the number 49 card. Looking at this card, you can see that it's clean. I kept real good on these cards. There's no bends, damage, dirt. Our centering from top to bottom, I think it's slightly towards the top. And from right to left, I think it's towards the left. Our edges and our corners are very clean. As I turn this card over and look at the back, you can see that the surface and graphics are nice and perfect. There's no problems there. I don't see any damage. Our centering, again, mirrors the front, so it's towards the top and towards the right. Looking at our corners and our edges, both right corners and the right edge have some damage. And that's going to give us a grade of near mint 8. Seems consistent with the rest. Let's take a look at a 1999 Pokemon game base set Gastly, the number 50 card. Gastly looks really nice. I think it's really clean. I don't see any damage or problems on the front surface. Our centering from top to bottom looks pretty good. Possibly looks within tolerance, maybe a little towards the top. Our left to right centering, I think, is within tolerance. Our edges and our corners, I don't see any problems there. Looking at the back of the card, you can see that the surface is just as nice as the front. There's no issues with the graphics or surface of the card. Our centering looks really good from top to bottom and left to right. I think they're all within tolerance. Looking at our corners and our edges, all I can find is some slight damage, very slight damage on both right corners. and that's going to give us a grade of near mint 8. That damage was not good enough or bad enough to drop that grade. I started buying the base set after they had already been out a while. That's why I don't have any first editions or very little. And also why a lot of the cards I think are getting lower grades, but also I think they're actually more critical of the base set than any other set. So I hope that helps when you go to grade yours. I appreciate you watching this video. I hope you like the content. Please like and subscribe, and always remember, you got to catch them all. Have a wonderful evening.